Greetings all, welcome to On West Gray, the official podcast of the City of Norman. I'm your host, Bryce Holland, multimedia specialist here at the City of Norman. On this month's episode, we are welcoming a community partner from Our Blood Institute to talk about how they help serve and enrich Norman. OBI is the 6th largest independent blood center in the nation, with 17 donor centers in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas. They are a nonprofit blood provider for patients at more than 240 hospitals, medical facilities, and air ambulances across all 3 states. And in Oklahoma, they provide more than 95% of the blood supply needed for our hospitals and medical facilities. They have 10 donor centers across the state in places like Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Edmond, and right here in Norman. So, joining us today, we have the executive director of OBI in the Oklahoma City area, Jake Cleveland. Jake, thank you for being here today with us.
Bryce, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. You know, I actually live local. I get my coffee here local. We go to church here in the Norman area as well. So to have the opportunity to represent the city that I love and the organization that I love to work for is a blessing.
That's awesome. Well, and then I can also kind of say that I have actually been a longtime donor with OBI.
Wonderful.
I'm mostly doing platelets. That was kind of my
Amazing.
thing. They tested me a while back, and apparently I have very high platelet count.
Amazing.
So I do that as often as I can.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Bryce. That's amazing, and it's literally life-saving.
Well, so we were just talking off air just a minute ago. Tell us a little bit about your personal history with OBI. Sounds like you have not been there that long.
Yeah, so I joined OBI a little over 3 months ago, back in August, as the executive director for Oklahoma City's OBI territory. However, I've been working with OBI for years. So I really started my healthcare career at Norman Regional here in town. I worked there for several years until COVID happened. But one being a donor at Norman Regional, started donating at a younger age there and donating as we had drives come through. So personal experience donating, it was always wonderful. But then also I managed the emergency medicine physicians at the hospital and then several of the operations of other specialties of medicine at the hospital. And so my very first experience with blood, anything aside from reading about it or seeing it on Grey's Anatomy or whatnot, right? The very first real life experience was actually at Norman Regional, where we had a teenage patient who was in a traumatic accident get wheeled into the ER, and there was the blood that helped save this student's life and allowed him to walk out of the hospital days later. So personal experience is really important to me, and being able to work in this environment now in this organization now is important because I've seen it firsthand be life-saving in the hospital setting.
It's a lot more important than people think. I mean,
Yes.
I know, especially in light of COVID, like you brought up, a lot of people don't realize kind of the blood products that you guys take in, how important they are for COVID treatments, for a lot of that stuff.
Absolutely. People think about medicine often, and you want to have your Tylenol on hand. You want to have your ibuprofen. You better have your Zyrtec at the house, right? Well, hospitals better have blood. They better have whole blood. They better have platelets. They better have the life-saving care that they need in the hospital as well. And so most people won't think of it until they're in that circumstance, or a family member, a friend, a loved one is in that circumstance. But it's just as important to have our blood products in the hospital as it is to have anything in the hospital.
Tell me a little bit about what services does OBI offer? You guys have been around obviously a very long time, but people hear Blood Institute. I think people just kind of think of that idea of just giving blood, but it's a lot more involved than that.
Absolutely, great question, Bryce. So the main services that we offer are to our hospitals. You mentioned it earlier. We provide 95% of the blood products in the state in OBI, right? So OBI provides that. We are the main sourcer for our hospitals here. We are the main sources for our community for this amazing blood. You mentioned it earlier. We're able to provide COVID treatment. OBI in Oklahoma City was the first blood bank to start some of these COVID-related treatments through blood transfusions back during the COVID era. So that's a service not as much needed anymore, but being able to provide those blood products is the main service. We also offer several other services to our donors as well. So being a donor, but for those of you who may be listening but aren't aware, anytime you donate with OBI, you get a mini physical. We're checking all your vitals. We're making sure everything's in healthy order. And if we're not, if you are not as a donor in that healthy state, we actually can't take you. So we're letting you know. We might alert you, hey, something's off. I actually heard a story not too long ago. I was meeting with a community stakeholder, and they said, actually, my life was saved because I got turned down at a blood drive. They checked me, they ran my vitals, and found that I had an irregular heartbeat. I went into the hospital, and sure enough, there was a procedure that followed. And so they get the mini health physical screening there. They also get their blood tested. So we test every single product that we get to ensure that it's safe for patients in the hospital. And if any irregular or concerning results come back, we will contact either the donor or, if it's a minor, of course, the guardian of the donor to alert them of those things as well. We do provide, as you mentioned earlier, all the blood for the hospitals, but also this big push to have the right type of blood on our ambulances and our air ambulances as well. We are the provider of that. So if you're in the field, maybe a more rural location, or you're stuck on the highway and you need something in the field, we are able to provide that through our ambulances. And the last thing, we have these amazing programs that have come up in the past few years that serve our communities in other ways. Not only are we providing the blood, but we have this incredible program called Donable Cares. It's something that came up through OBI, and it's an opportunity that, say, we have a group that wants to start a blood drive, right? So say the city of Norman wants to start a blood drive. If we label it as this certain type of blood drive, a Donable Cares, we will actually be allowed to make a monetary donation to a nonprofit of your choice. So you could very well pick the regional food pantry. You could very well pick the well downtown. You could pick anything that's nonprofit, registered 501c3, and we receive the blood donation, and then we in the community are able to offer service back and make this monetary donation as well.
So we call this organization Our Blood Institute, but you guys do so much more than just blood. It's yes. I mean, it's kind of amazing, everything that you guys do. I should also say, shout out, you guys have some of the best snacks ever.
Thank you.
Every time I have to go and donate, when I'm done, I get my Oreos, I get my Diet Pepsi. It's the best.
Yes, my kids, every day they ask me, I've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, Dad, did you go to a blood drive today? And if the answer is yes, it's, Dad, where's my Oreos? Right, because they know it's a staple.
You always got
you got to associate Oreos, Nutter Butters with OBI. Right?
That's right. Well, so now, kind of talking about that a little bit, one of the things I wanted to touch on that I kind of know about this, but I figured you explaining it would be better. I wanted you to kind of talk a little bit about the difference between something like OBI and what you guys do and other sort of blood services. The big one that everyone kind of thinks of is the Red Cross.
Absolutely.
Everyone thinks of the Red Cross when they think of like blood donations and everything like that. But there's some significant differences between what they do and what you guys do. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question again. So we are the 6th largest blood bank, as you have listed up here in the nation, which a lot of people don't think about Oklahoma City being that, Oklahoma being that, right? But we are. That's a good sense of pride, right? I'm wasn't born here, but I grew up in Oklahoma. This is home for me. So to be able to have that, it's a badge of honor, right? One of the big differences, and look, the American Red Cross is wonderful. They do amazing services. They are absolutely wonderful. Their services span from blood banking, yes, but also the disaster relief. One of the big differences is that we really hone in and try to craft our expertise around the blood banking, right? That allows us to really focus on donor experience from the second you walk in our door or you walk into a mobile blood drive, really focusing in on that donor experience. It also allows us to expand more into the programs like we've aforementioned, right? Our focus is really on how can we build these communities. One of my favorite differences is that within OBI, every drop of blood that we collect within OBI is processed downtown in Oklahoma City off of Lincoln Avenue. That is something that gives me a lot of pride to be from here, right? We're the 5th to 6th largest blood bank in the nation, and it all starts here, right? It's local, and we're able to provide local as well. So our lab is actually downtown Oklahoma City. It's off Lincoln Avenue. 100% of the blood is processed, tested, and redistributed out from there. That's over 100 full-time jobs just in our lab alone, whereas other blood banks may or may not have that opportunity locally. So that's a big That's a big win for me. It also helps having it local. It helps with jobs. It also helps with cost control, and it helps with quality control as well. And it helps ensure, because the blood is in our facility locally, if Baptist calls, if Norman Regional calls, and Norman calls and says, hey, we need this very special type of blood, you have it, can we get it? We can get it to them in a very timely manner, as opposed to the potential of, maybe it being states away, right? So that's a big win for us. It allows us to really provide for our communities as a whole.
I think it's also important to kind of touch on the importance of you guys being a nonprofit.
Yes.
Because I know that there are some blood institutes, some blood groups that are more for profit.
Yes.
But you guys have been nonprofit since the beginning.
Yes, since the 70s when we started, so 50 years ago, we obviously, right, our founders had this vision of, what if we were a bit of a paradox, right? How often do you hear of a nonprofit pharmaceutical company? Blood being a pharmaceutical, you have to have a prescription for it. A doctor has to write you an order for it, right?
Yeah.
But how often do you hear the nonprofit in that space? And so they wanted to be this paradox that helps reach our communities in the nonprofit space. And so that's, again, something I've worked for profit, I've worked nonprofit, and that's the nonprofit space is where my heart lens, right? And Oklahomans, all about helping Oklahomans. I think it aligns naturally with a lot of us too.
Hey, I work local government.
Yep.
Absolutely. The nonprofit space. It changes the way you think about the work that you're
Absolutely.
doing.
Absolutely.
Because there is none of that profit motive.
Absolutely.
You're just trying to help the people in your community.
Absolutely. So working in the hospital, seeing the blood be used, working with people of our communities, right here in Norman, working for Norman Regional for some time. You get the sense that I want to help my communities, and this is an incredible opportunity to do that, being local, being nonprofit, and thinking patient first.
So, just like you mentioned, Norman Regional.
Yep.
Let's talk Norman a little bit. You guys, obviously, you have presence all over the state, into Arkansas, into Texas. You guys are covering a wide swath. But here in Norman, you guys do have the donor center here. Right. But talk a little bit about talk about how else you work with the city, because I know that you guys have done blood drives sponsored with the city of Norman itself.
Yes, absolutely. So OBI has partnered with Norman Regional from the beginning, right? It's been a partnership for years and years and years. I've got a computer system. I can go on and see some amazing graphs and data, and our system goes back 22 years, but I know the relationship predates, the electronic records. The paper records go back 50 years, right? It's an amazing partnership. So Norman is an incredible sponsor for our Blood Institute. We do host drives with the city of Norman, which is wonderful. Norman Regional being an incredible partnership. Donovan and Trish are our drive champions there. I worked with them working at Norman, and now I get to do it again here. It's an amazing full circle moment. We are increasing our presence in the Norman Chamber. We are chamber members, so increasing our interests there. I work closely with some of the medical leadership for Norman Fire and Norman PD as well. And so really starting to build some of those relationships back again. But being present in the community, one of my favorite ways that we're able to be in the community is at our local schools as well. So getting into our younger students, people can start to donate at 16 years old with parental consent. And so getting into the schools, whether it's middle school, high school, and one, providing education to say this is why this is important, but then two, allowing them an opportunity to serve their local communities through a 45-minute donation that can save 3 lives, right? That's an amazing opportunity to instill it's amazing belief to instill in our youth as well. So lots of opportunities and lots of current partnerships. OU being a huge partner as well, obviously, right? You can't talk about Norman without talking about OU.
It's synonymous, basically.
Yes, and we do a week-long of blood drives each day at OU campus in the Armory. Shout out to the OU Armory. Really grateful for them. I was out there yesterday presenting a prize to them. They were wonderful, wonderful people. We do a week long there, and we collected in October, last week of October, we collected 305 donations, which is just shy of 1,000 lives we were able to save due to just OU's partnership there. So the ability, Norman has been so open, so welcoming, from city to the fire, to the schools, to OU, to churches, to say, hey, come in, let's help our local community, because it's pun intended, the lifeblood of who we are, right?
So figured I would just ask this right now. We're coming up on the end of the year. Do you guys have any local events going on anytime soon?
Yes, great question. Great question. So locally, yes, we actually have, in the month of December, we have 17 OBI blood drives in the area. Of course, our center's always open. Always encourage you to go to the center. If you can't make a mobile work, or if you want to donate platelets, which is amazing, that's great to do in the center. Just find a space to donate, right? So we've got 17 in the local area. We have 3 blood drives at Norman Regional before the end of the month. So incredible opportunity to come save lives and donate, but also to see the offerings of Norman Regional, which is absolutely incredible. We have some big drives down at Riverwind as well, where they're Thunder drives. So we've partnered with Oklahoma City Thunder. That's in our backyard as well. So great year-end opportunities to come and donate to save lives. You know, December and January are usually our lowest collecting months just because of holidays and weather, and
everyone's
people
so
are on
busy.
the go,
it's
right?
Cold outside.
More than ever before, it's important to come in. You mentioned it being cold outside. That's good, because right now we have our long sleeve OBI shirts that are wonderful.
Never can forget the shirt.
You can't forget the shirt. That's right.
Got to get a new shirt each time.
We've got a good Scrooge theme going right now. So much so, my family's texting me asking, can you get me a shirt? And I said, yeah. All you got to do is donate, right? So, to look for some of those local opportunities, obi.org, and then you click the Donate Now button at the top. Punch in your zip code here in Norman, and then you can find a mobile drive or the center, of course, here in town.
So let's talk a little bit about that. A person that has never donated blood before, or never donated anything, they want to get involved. They want to do this. Tell us a little bit about that process. How does someone go about doing that?
Absolutely. So, the best time to get involved is now, right? It's never too late, never too early to get involved. And so we mentioned this earlier. If somebody wants to get involved with OBI as far as donating, that's the biggest need that we have. So 16 years old is the minimum. You have to have parental consent. 17 and 18, free to donate, and then on from there as well. So if you're somebody who's interested, you want to know what it's like, come check out a mobile blood drive. Just look around for a little bit, right? Tease the waters a little bit, test the waters, but then sign up as well. So the big things that we always encourage people, if they've never donated before, I donate monthly. I donate monthly, and I love doing so. It's about 1 second of a pinch is all it takes. You know this as a platelet donor. It's not painful. Our teams go through so much work, effort, energy to be as incredibly effective as they are, and incredible bedside patient care as well. And so it's about 1 second of discomfort with that pinch, and then you sit there, you drink your Gatorade, you eat your Oreos, and you get to watch Netflix or whatever it is on your phone, right? So people are usually scared. They think it's going to hurt the whole 10 minutes that you might be donating, 8 minutes that you might be donating, but in reality, you and I know, Bryce, that it's about 1 second of a pinch. And then it's good. You get a cool colored arm, and then you go on your way with your brand new T-shirt. So to get involved, again, I would look at obi.org and select Donate Now. Now, there's multiple ways to get involved. Right now, current state, and this happens in the winter time and sporadically throughout the year as hospital usage increases as well, we are in need of O-negative donors. Now, for those listening who may not be so familiar with blood types, O-negative can go to any patient at all.
Universal donor.
It's the universal donor. That's right. So if you are the universal donor, one, you should be really proud of yourself. You are very special. We're so grateful for that.
I happen to be universal recipient.
You are the universal. Perfect, right? That's amazing. So our universal, we're open and grateful for all donations. Let me be very clear. But right now, our O-negative, it is highly sought after, right? And the reason that's highly sought after, as we mentioned, it can go to anybody. So think if you're at the hospital and you got to go in and they ask you your blood type because you need a transfusion, but you're not sure what it is, or maybe you don't know what your child's is yet, or maybe it's, a NICU baby. They're not sure, but they need this blood. The O-negative is life-saving. It is vital because it can go to anybody at any point in time. So we desperately need our O-negative donors. We also need platelet donors. For those who may not be so familiar with platelets, it's a procedure that takes a little bit longer than a normal whole blood donation like we just mentioned, but our platelet donors are incredibly supportive and incredibly needed as well, because our platelets, about 50% of cancer patients being treated by blood will receive platelets. That's part of how they receive their care, right? So it's really important for our cancer patients, but it's also really important for traumas. So I mentioned I worked at Norman Regional's emergency department, and then at Integris's emergency department for a while. Our trauma patients received platelets to stop some excess of bleeding as well. So they're both incredibly important. So to get involved, if you're just looking for an easy way, obi.org, hit the Donate Now button, and then look for a mobile drive near you, or go to the Norman Center as well. Either way, it's the same organization is getting to the same place, and then it's going to our same hospitals that need it desperately for our patients.
If someone's listening to this and they heard about this, they got the idea, well, heck, I want to go do this. Would they even need to make an appointment, or could they just go on in and do it?
Yeah, so if you go online to our website and you find a blood drive near you, that means it is an open blood drive, which means it's open to the public. Go on in. You don't have to make an appointment. You can donate. Our centers, it just depends on the day with how busy they are. They do have appointment slots. I can tell you, when I've gone in to donate, they always make space for me, right? We try really hard to meet people where they're at as far as their schedule goes. But no, most of the time you can walk on in and they are happy to greet you with a big smile and a pack of Nutter Butters.
Oh, yeah. Heck, well, even more than that. So you have the grandma's cookies. I could talk about the snacks all day.
Sure.
I don't want to get off on a snack tangent here. But the snacks are always just kind of a nice little thing,
Absolutely.
You know? Well, is there... Let me ask this. So we talked about the age limit, 16 and everything like that. I'm old enough to remember the very first time I gave blood, I was in high school.
Amazing.
And at the time, I gave blood one time, and the next time I went to give blood, I had gotten my first tattoo.
Okay.
And they had that rule at the time where if you had a tattoo, you couldn't give blood.
Yes.
Talk a little bit, how has that rule changed?
Yeah, so that rule has lifted as well. So rules change every couple of years. They're set by the FDA, and so, of course, we follow all FDA guidelines. So that rule has lifted at least in the last 5 years, because I had a similar experience, Bryce. And so now the rule around that is, I believe it's 24 to 48 hours is all you have to wait, as long as it is a licensed tattoo shop. That's the big thing. So if it's any of our great shops we have here in Norman, or any that are in OKC, they're licensed, they're clean, amazing. Maybe not the backyard garage, or, those are going to cause a little bit of a delay on your donations. But nope, as long as it's licensed, it's pretty quick.
I mentioned that because I've had when I've told people that I give platelets as much as I do, and they see the tattoos that I have. You can't see them because I'm wearing a hoodie right now. But people are like, "Oh, how are you giving blood with all the tattoos?" And I'm like, things have changed.
Yes.
But I know a lot of people, older people, that tried in the past many years ago to give blood. They'd get denied, and then they were just like, "Oh, well, I guess I just can't do this anymore," because you don't think about it again. You're told that one time you can't. But it's an important thing for people to know now that it's like, times have changed.
Absolutely. And rules change often. And I'll share this, Bryce. My father is a hospital administrator here in Oklahoma, in a small town. He has not donated since his early 20s because he got hepatitis A from eating raw seafood, right?
Ooh,
a lot of raw seafood, a lot of oysters. And so for decades, he couldn't donate. Well, he called me 2 weeks ago and said, "Jake, I just donated for the first time in almost 40 years because the rule had changed." And it changed a couple years ago, I think. He had just never thought to call in to OBI or to go to a blood drive and say, "Hey, can I do this now?" And so they welcomed him in. It was a great experience. He FaceTimed me showing off his green co-band, and it allowed him the altruism, right? That feeling of being able to go donate again. Rules change. I always encourage people to call and check and see. If you got a medication you're unsure of, call and check and see to see if it's kind of on the exclusionary list as well. We have all that in writing. If you show up to the drive, they're going to hand you a document that saes, "Have you done any of these things?" Like tattoos.
It's a very thorough screening process.
It is a very thorough screening, but I always encourage people. It's very thorough. At times feels a bit invasive, but the important piece about that is, if you're the one receiving the blood, wouldn't you want the blood to be screened for all of those
Absolutely,
things. Right.
yeah.
So in light of everything, it's not because they want to ask you those things, right? It's because they have to ensure that our patients in our hospital are getting the safest, most appropriate blood products that they can get.
Well, Jake, everything OBI does is, life-saving work. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything else that you'd like people to know about, here in Norman or about OBI and the work you guys do?
Yeah, I Bryce, I so appreciate the opportunity to be on here. At the end of the day, our goal is to be the donor to patient lifeline. We want to make the donor experience great, but ultimately we want our patients to be cared for in the hospital. I would encourage anybody, if you're nervous about it, there's a book called Perks of Being a Wallflower, and it says all you need is 6 seconds of courage, right? 6 seconds of courage, and by doing this one donation, you're going to save about 3 patients' lives. And you may never meet that patient, you may, but the ability to go and make an impact in your direct community here in Norman, Oklahoma, it's something that passes on generationally. So I would encourage any listeners out there, make it a family affair, make it a constant discipline that you participate in, because you are making a difference.
Jake, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Questions or commentary about On West Gray can be sent into publicaffairs@normanok.gov. On West Gray is produced and edited by Bryce Holland, that's me, and Maria Nairn of the City of Norman's Communications Department. Be sure to visit normanok.gov/Norman-news to enroll in e-notifications from the City of Norman. Until next time, stay engaged, stay informed, be good to one another, and enjoy everything our amazing city has to offer. We'll be back again in a month here on West Gray.